From the shadows, she appears. Jennylyn show, illuminates and tells me all yearn to know. With beats that pulse and sense that ignite, taking us to new heights.
Hello, guys. Well, for those of you who don't believe what we are sharing, if it's too much over your head, here's what you need to know. Mel and I have already recorded this show. I have been producing television for 14 years, but then this is Zoom. I'm not in a TV studio like I normally am, but I've produced over 300 Zoom interviews, and never in the history of me doing Zoom interviews has this ever happened. But in the middle of our recording, first I started hearing voices which Mel couldn't hear. And then at the end of the show, something turned off the interview after about 10-15 minutes. So a 45-minute recording, only 15 minutes had been recorded. And so this is our second attempt at this. And hopefully it will be better than the first, because whatever didn't want us to share this, we are going to do it better, because the first was like a grand rehearsal, right, Mel?
Yes.
So
Oh, gee.
for most of you who've been following me know that I've been doing a segment called My Nightmare. And it's about a woman who's obsessed with me and who has done some heinous things to me in my life because of her obsession, and literally stole my life. She stole my essence. And Mel will explain how someone can do this. So I promised you I would be bringing Mel. And before I hand this interview over to Mel, I would like to dedicate this entire segment to her. Because after approximately 19 years of, or probably more, because we had a plot twist this week, and we will explain that to you next week, you should know that the first time after suffering with whatever is being done, I am getting results that are for my best and highest good. And I give the credit to Mel. She does not ask me for money. She has not taken money. And she's been almost on my payroll, because 3 times every day she checks in. And when I am having problems, she goes to battle for me. And there are no words to express gratitude, or no gift you can give someone who gives of themselves in this way to help you. And so if you're having issues like I am, I unreservedly recommend Mel, and I will put my head on a block for her integrity and tell you that if she takes your case on, you will get results. So Mel, I get to share my Mel with my viewers. Welcome.
Thank you for having me today.
You know, Mel, I want to share you with everything and everyone I know. And you've become a name that is often coming off of my lips amongst people that I know. Because, like I said earlier on this interview or this video, you are the person that God is using to give me my life back. You and the universe together have been working relentlessly to help me. And I think it's because you have seen my suffering. So I'll hand this over to you, and you can go with it however you choose to from here.
Okay. Well, thank you. So, what I wanted to begin with is to explain to your viewers what it is that we're actually dealing with here. I think this is of importance, so your viewers have an understanding of the kind of person that has been sending these dark entities your way. I know that in the other segments you have talked about what has happened to you, and I want to actually explain who's doing this and why she's able to do this. Okay. And for that, let me begin by saying that this person, CasSandra, Sandra, whatever you want to call her, yes, she is what is considered a high priestess, a satanic high priestess, to be exact. And a satanic high priestess, not someone who was a novice, someone actually who has had decades, if not a lifetime of experience. I'm going to go as far as to say that she comes from a family who is practicing satanic rituals and Satanism as well. So that's who we're dealing with. Now, why would someone like her be interested in you, right? In doing this. Now, this is a very interesting thing. At first, of course, I was a little bit stumped about that too. Why would someone go through the lengths of, continuing to do this to someone like you? Because technically, you haven't done anything to this woman, right? There's nothing that she really receives in return, per se, or so I thought. And all of these things are important to look into when I take a case or when I look into a case, right? Because I need to understand what it is and who I'm dealing with. That's what I wanted to just tell your viewers, so you have an understanding of that we're dealing with someone that is truly ingrained and really has been practicing this kind of thing, the dark arts, for so many decades, and is really a professional in that sense. And I'm not putting her on a pedestal by any means, but she has a caliber of her own. That has to be said. And that's why so many of your other healers and people that you have asked to assist you have not been able to do so, because she really is very skilled in what she does. Okay, there's no denying it.
And so now that Mel has explained what I'm up against, and since we've done this before, it's so awkward because it's like, how do you continue? Like, did I just say that? Did we just talk about that? But we are going to try to recapture the essence of the previous interview, which was very good. And unfortunately, neither of us can explain who turned the recording off, because we did not. So, Mel, now that you've explained that, I think since we've already done 45 minutes of this, I know you're tired. What I'm going to try to do in this segment is capture as much of that as possible without going as long, because we will do another segment next week.
Of course.
So one of the things that you discovered is this woman had stolen my essence and was essentially living off of my essence. And she had created some pathway in my vessel where she was draining my essence every day. And so depleting me and somehow living off of what I am. And I know for a lot of people that sounds like total mumbo jumbo. Do you want to explain how someone can do that to another person?
Well, I don't know exactly how it's done because I don't practice dark magic, so I wouldn't know. But I can explain to your viewers what it does to her. And maybe we need to begin with understanding what really essence is. Okay, why would someone want your essence? Well, what the essence of you is really is not your soul. Okay, that's not what this refers to. But the essence is everything you are. Okay, everything that you do, everything that is you is your essence. Meaning, if you're a kind person, meaning if you are someone who is very compassionate, meaning all those types of things. You know where this is going. And so technically one might ask, why would someone like her want your essence, right? Isn't this something that she has of her own? And that's where I'm going to say, technically she does, but technically she doesn't, because someone like her, from what I've gathered and my spirit team sort of confirmed for me, is that because of her dark arts that she's been practicing, and probably her upbringing and all those other things. For whatever reason, she cannot or live on the essence that is God given to her. Okay, she does not produce it. I don't know, that's the wrong word for it, but she doesn't have it. She doesn't have access to it. That's the word I'm looking for. So in order for her to be looked at by society um, in the way that she is now, because you have mentioned this, that everybody that looks at her, knows her, would never believe that this is the kind of work that she does. Well, in order for her to be able to do this, she needs the essence of someone who is kind, who is, like this on the outside. And I don't know, somehow she's putting that within herself. Again, this is a subject that I don't know how it works technically, energetically, because I don't practice this kind of thing. But I do know that she has drained your essence, and not fully. She keeps doing it because she needs it in order to be shown or looked at by others in the way that she is. And we have proof that she collects other people's essences too. At least, throughout this process, I've come across one instance where I was made aware of her doing that.
So Mel, you can tell about the night when your guides took her to their home
Yeah.
and what
Okay.
happened when you got there.
Absolutely. Now, this has to do with the essence, and this was truly profound, because up until that point, I didn't realize that that is what she was doing. Um, I was asked to go to her home, and when I say go to her home, one of the gifts that I have is I remote view. Okay, so when I remote view a place, or I'm asked to remote view a place, I was shown a certain room where there was some things, some tools that would only be described as, ritualistic in a sense. And when I stood there and sort of actually looked at all this stuff, I didn't know really why I was there. But then, and here's what happened. A spirit of a young female stepped through the wall, because I do connect with spirits as well. So she stepped through the wall as I was standing there, and that kind of took me back for a moment. And this young woman, she pointed to me. She pointed not to me, but she pointed at a little box that was on this, I don't know, this little table or whatever it was, and said, she keeps their essences. She takes their essences. And I was sort of taken aback that this young spirit told me this. The woman was clearly deceased. Okay. And so I didn't know what her connection was to the woman, but I, took it for what it was. So energetically, I actually tapped into this box that she was pointing to. And when I opened the box energetically, I was met with essences from multiple people. I don't know how many. And the energy that was attached to these essences was the soul parts of these people. And there was so much sadness and sorrow attached to it that I almost couldn't hold on. I couldn't even fathom. I mean, I broke down. In other words, that's what happened to me. I broke down as I was continued to empty this box of these energetic essences of these people. And that's when it came to me. I said, well, if she has all of these essences, then guess what? She has Jennylyn's as well. And we later on discovered that's exactly what she had, because and you can continue by, leading into that part. But yes, she definitely did.
And you should know that Mel was able to set that female free because she was holding that person hostage.
Yeah.
I still never knew why she was holding her, but thank you, Mel, that this is another soul you set free. So anyway, the day after Mel did this, I think it was the next evening, Mel had checked in with me like she does every day. As soon as I wake up in the morning, she checks to see how, I was at night. In the middle of the day of work, she checks with me. And when I get home from work, she checks in with me. And I said, I don't know what is going on. I'm getting a lot of pain in my chest. It feels like somebody is stuffing a football down my chest. I am feeling a lot of pain and like I can't breathe. And Mel said, let me check. And then Mel, you can tell them what happened when you checked.
Well, again, one of the biggest things that I do and that bring results is I use energy work in order to do things. Okay, this is how I connect. There are a few other things I do in order to get the job done, so to speak. But I went into your chest. I did energy work on your chest, and as you recall, I literally was sort of inclined to grab something. You had what I perceived to be some sort of big and tough knot in your chest that was just stuck in there, and I remember having to sort of pull and pull and pull, and I remember you telling me, this hurts, and I told you that, just, we got to do this because this has to come out, and you could feel what I was doing,
And
and
I can
eventually,
hear you panting. I can
yes,
hear you panting like you're
yes,
really struggling to pull it out.
it took a lot of effort and a lot of strength on my part to pull this out energetically and physically as well, because I do a physical motion as I'm doing this, and then when we finally got it out, it was, I don't even know what it was, but it was presented to me as this really glob of stuff that was stuck in your chest, and this was something that was put there by her. And for some reason, if anybody knows, the chest region is where your soul resides. It's kind of like, where everything of the human yeah, everything, the human being, the heart space resides here. Okay, so that was very suspicious to me that I found this thing in there, and of course, that in conjunction with what had happened, when I remote viewed and the essences, the box and the essences, I knew, I put two and two together, that this was something that was put in you a long time ago, by the way, because the only time I really have to go and do this kind of maneuver, this strong and hard, is if when something has been in a person's body for a long time. So this isn't something that just was put there. It was really hooked in there. But we got it out, and I remember you sort of having after effects a little bit, but I said, let it go. It's gonna be fine, and it dissipated, and it was fine. But I think she of course noticed it, and then kept going back the following days, and has been for after that, in order to put something back in there, right?
Because
And
she needs my energy to
yes,
survive, my
right,
essence to survive.
right. And we assisted, well, I assisted you in trying not to get it, to prevent it from coming in, and you did some stuff and ended up sort of being able to, protect yourself until that, remember that, talk about that one day. I think you
Yes.
wanted to, yeah.
So shortly after Mel removed this, and I think when Mel set the essence free that she had in the box, she started somehow going to this thing she had implanted in my chest to try and retrieve energy. And that's why I became aware that something was there, because I started to feel the pressure and the pain. So Mel removed it, and the next day I went to work, and I was at work speaking to one of the brokers I work with, and it felt like somebody came and stabbed me in the chest with a knife. It did. The pain was intense. It was excruciating. It actually knocked the wind out of my sail. I couldn't breathe for a while. And then when I eventually started breathing, I felt it come up my head and down my arms, and I felt my arms felt numb and they were paining. And someone looked at me and go, "You just had the color drained out of your face. Are you okay?" And I said, "I've never had this. I think I just had a heart attack." So they called my boss, and he looked at me and he said, "You have to go to the emergency." I think I told this story in a previous segment, but if you haven't watched it real quickly, I went to the emergency, and my boss actually had one of the managers take me, and they ran every test on me. While I was in the hospital, I got a text from Mel. "How are you doing?" And I go, "You're not going to believe it. I'm in the emergency. It seems like I had a heart attack." And Mel says, well, I said they're running every test on me. And she goes, I'm glad they're testing you for everything. But one thing I can tell you is you just had a massive spiritual attack. And Mel, you can carry on from there. And so I came home, and several times after that, she tried again to get back into my chest. I had the same experience, and then one morning at 4 a.m. she tried, and it awoken me. I jumped out of my sleep. Same exact symptoms, except this time I wasn't scared because I knew that it was her trying to attack me again. And Mel had taught me what to do, to place a labyrinth. And if you don't know what that is, go look it up. Because when she told me, put the labyrinth around your chest area, I'm like, what is that? So one thing I'm going to say at this portion of the interview is you're probably looking at me and thinking that I am really versed in this world. I was not, but in order to be aware of what is happening to me and protect myself, I think I can help a few people now. So anyway, Mel, the next day I came home from work and Mel said asked how, what was going on. And I told Mel there was a lot of things happening outside the house and that I'd seen these big holes in the ground. And so Mel decided to sweep the lawns for me, which she did. She cleared it energetically. And then I was able to get decent sleep that night. But the next day, I was standing in the front of the house speaking to my neighbor, and she asked if things were getting better because people in my neighborhood knows I'm dealing with this. They see me outside looking like the gardener, constantly picking crap up. They probably think I'm nuts. But I have no choice. I have to pick it up and I'm sure Sandra Tong is having fun watching me do this because I'm told she watches everything I do. Anyway, I was speaking to my neighbor and she said, since you moved in, we have a lot of Chinese people hanging around this neighborhood where I live in an Italian district. Suddenly there's Chinese constantly at the front of my house. And she goes, yeah, it's only since you moved in. And as we were having the conversation, she goes, look, 4 of them are coming. And I think I mentioned a previous segment where I was woken up and told to go to the front door at 11:30 one night after I'd been asleep, and these same 4 Chinese people were outside. So I turned my lights on and made them know I saw them. And when they left, something was left on the ground. So in the middle of the night, I was in front of my house picking up what they had with gloves and threw it out. And so this day, when they walked by and they were pointing to my house, my neighbor Wendy yelled at them, "What are you looking at?" Because they were pointing at my roof. And when they left, she goes, "You better go tell Mel they were walking by pointing at your roof." So I told Mel, I said, "Mel, they were pointing at the roof." And she goes, "Let me check and see what's going on your roof. I never thought to look up there." And sure enough, Mel found a huge portal open on the roof. And while she was doing that, my guides told me to tell her check the basement. And Mel, I'm handing it over to you now.
Yes. So, there was a big portal actually above the roof, just hovering above it. And there was a bunch of activity on the roof. So we took care of that. But then I went into the basement because, you said that I should go look there. And I didn't even realize you had a basement really until then, So I went into the basement and I found some things to clear, but it wasn't too bad. And never thinking of what would happen next. Okay, we didn't even know what we were going to come across that night, right? Or was it that I think you need to start telling the
Let me
viewers.
just tell this part really quick and then I'll hand it back to Mel.
Correct.
So Mel cleared a portal. She cleared the basement. And then I went to bed that night. It wasn't too bad that night. But when I woke up in the morning, because I get up early in the morning about 4:30, because I like to spend a half an hour in prayer and meditation before I go to work, I kept hearing my guides telling me, check the camera. And if you don't know, we've had to install cameras in the back of this house because of what goes on here. I looked on the camera and what I saw, my eyes almost popped out of my head because I was looking at it going, oh my God, she unleashed hell on my backyard. Because it was not raining, it was not snowing, nothing was happening. It was a peaceful, quiet night, but it appeared as though snow was being blown out from the basement of my house. To be honest, and I have a video, I'll put it on here, that I saved from the camera for the non-believers. It looked like snow was being like somebody was blowing it with a vengeance from the basement of my house. So I saw it and I panicked. I'm like, oh my God. They opened up a portal to hell and all the demons are now flooding my backyard. And I freaked out. I was afraid to step out of my bedroom. I'm like, what's outside in the living room when I go out? What's in the kitchen? But I decided a long time ago, I'm not going to give in to fear. So I took a picture of the video and I sent it to Mel and I said, Mel, she unleashed hell on the backyard. And as I was driving to work, I got a text from Mel and I called her and I said, I'm driving. I can't text you, but I can't wait till I go to work to talk to you. Did you see what's going on in my backyard? And Mel, over to you.
Yes. So I get this. It was actually a video. You sent me the video footage, and I was looking at it. And the first thing I do when I see things is I energetically connect with it. This is the thing that I do. So I energetically connected with what looked like the snow or these things coming out, and it was very neutral. There was no darkness attached to it, and I was confused. I was like, that's not, those are not demonic entities. What is this? What is this? And then I actually, I check with my spirit team, and it turns out that these things that we were seeing were souls. They were human souls that were coming out, that were released, and now we're coming out of your basement area and released, to be free, finally be free. And I have to actually backtrack a bit, because that morning, for some reason, when I checked in to your property, I saw that there was some sort of energetic bubble around your property and your home. Okay, so, and that was very unusual. I didn't put it there, at least, I didn't, not on purpose. And I asked with my spirit team, I said, is this something I need to worry about? Do I need to take it down? And they're like, no, leave it. I said, okay. So I left this bubble, and then later on, we see that these entities, these human souls are coming out. So what does that mean? It means that for some reason, we, while clearing the basement and whatever it is we were doing, we actually opened something with this vacuum of this bubble, where human souls that were stuck were released to be free. So, and these human souls, there must have been thousands, hundreds of thousands that came out of there. Okay, this wasn't just a couple. This was just 45 minutes alone. The footage that you sent me was 45 minutes of just constant flow of this, and continuing throughout the day, right? You were telling me. So I don't have a perfect answer to the question as to what really happened, but for some reason, whatever we did, okay, opened something that allowed for these souls that were trapped. Okay, this is the key here. They were trapped by something or someone, and now they were flowing free into to go wherever they needed to be. They were actually being released into this bubble, because the bubble was a safe space. It was almost as if they were drawn to this bubble, this safe space, because the safe space is sort of what you would call like a pre stage of the light that they go into. That's the way I took it. Okay, so yes, so in our attempt to release or go against some darker entities, we inadvertently released hundreds of thousands of human souls that came from somewhere. I don't know, and I have a feeling that they were either they were in your property somewhere, or they were drawn in from elsewhere somehow by this bubble. I don't quite know the answer to this, but there clearly is evidence on your footage for that to happen. And my spirit team actually did tell me that those are all human souls that were released. So I don't know, but that was a good day, right?
Yes, because I felt like part of why I was pulled into this was to play this part in helping to free a lot of captives that were in the form of souls as well as humans,
Yes.
that were trapped here on the earth that couldn't go to the light. And that in Mel, I tell Mel I'm the PI, I'm the private investigator. I go around and investigate. I report to her what I find, and then she's able to go in energetically and suss out what I'm reporting, and then she clears what needs clearing. So, as far as I can see, meeting Mel is not a coincidence. I think this was part of the divine plan for her and I. I know this started off being about me, but I think that my sole purpose and hers is much bigger than Sandra Tong and what she's been trying to do to me. And like I mentioned at the inception of today's segment, we have a huge plot twist, which we will tackle next week. But those who have been trying to mess with me, they knew my divine mission as well as Mel's, and they were trying to stop me doing it. And when we tell you about the plot twist next week, you will understand why souls would be trapped here on the planet. We don't know who we're trapping them, but we found out, we think, why they were being trapped. And you're gonna have to watch next week to find that out. Because I know Mel's tired and I am, since we've already done this. And so to me, I felt the entire day, I heard that voice again. On the previous segment, there was a female voice coming into the video that wasn't Mel's nor I, and I just heard the voice again. So we can't make this stuff up. But anyway, I think that all my suffering is worth it. And I thanked God that He allowed me to go through what I've gone through. If I could play such a big part in freeing so many souls so they could go home to the light. So we did that, and then a lot of other things has happened. Cassandra or Sandra, I'm not calling her Cassandra anymore, her name is Sandra. Sandra has gotten a lot more desperate because she attacked Mel. She heard me mention Mel. I talk about Mel all the time because I owe her my life. And she must have gone on TikTok and found Mel's picture. And Mel was woken up from her sleep by her guides. And she was showing Cassandra with her picture, stabbing it to death with a knife and calling it bitch. She was afraid to use the word bitch, but I'm saying what exactly you want to tell them, because it didn't come to me. You were shown it.
Yes. And actually, this has been such a collaboration between my spirit team, and they include the archangels and so forth, and my higher self, who's been assisting me in this, that literally I have been, in that instance particularly, I was woken up in the middle of the night. I think it was 2:45 a.m. East Coast time, right? Eastern Standard Time, to be given this image. And I had to intervene. Let's put it this way. Okay, so I had to literally, they told me that I needed to go do something. And I did. So it was kind of like, okay, here I'm laying in bed and I see this woman viciously stabbing at my picture. And I mean, there was clearly an intention in there. And here I'm laying in bed and doing energy work as I'm half asleep. But I did what I needed to do and then went back to sleep, because that's just what I do. And this has happened before. I was awakened one occasion or a couple of occasions actually for you, wherein a certain ritual was done, right? At a certain time in the middle of the night, I was woken up by my spirit team and shown again through a remote viewing that she was partaking in a blood ritual. Let's just put it that way, and that this would set us back if I didn't do something. And so I intervened energetically in what it is that I can do. Okay, and I in order to sort of make that ritual null and void. That's basically what that means. Okay, again, I'm not an expert on the occult by any means. I just sort of know what to do. I'm guided sometimes by my spirit team to, to do certain things. I also want to mention to your spirit team, not to your spirit team, but to your viewers. Okay, that's how I work real quick, because some of you or your viewers might think that I use ritualistic tools as well in order to, go against those things. And to that, I have to say no. So I don't dabble in the dark at all. I don't. Some people do that. Dark, fight dark with dark. I don't do that, and I don't use any rituals or tools. It's just me, myself, and I, basically. I use my ability to manipulate energy first and foremost to do things. I use or utilize my ability to remote view in these instances. I use my ability, my shamanic abilities, and this comes into um, this helps me rather when I have to sort of go different places. A shaman, for those of you who don't know, and I don't call myself a shaman, but I have shamanic abilities. So I can walk other worlds. It's basically what that means. I can walk the upper world, but I can also walk the lower worlds. And the lower worlds is where you find those creatures. Okay, it's where you find those things. And when you connect with both worlds, you have connections, you forge connections with certain parties that I will say that can assist you. And I know that in the past I have told you that I have those who I call experts. Okay, and those are beings that have been helping me actually over the past few years with things to sort of go against or release and transform some of the darker energies that are out there. So I have what I'm basically trying to tell your viewers is I don't do witchcraft. I don't dabble in the dark. Everything I do is simply coming from me in connection with my higher self and the archangels and with my other selves who I am asking to help me. And I know might be a little bit difficult to understand for someone who's not familiar with the spiritual, but for purposes of satisfying their curiosity, I figured I'd say this here. So this is kind of like in a nutshell. Of course, there's a lot more to it, but this gives your viewers an idea of how I work and what I work with. So and I want to point out for those who do not know what rituals do, what satanic rituals do, for instance, there's something that needs to be given in order to receive. So you have to pay a price, right? You have to pay a price in order to get something. So in other words, when she's doing those rituals or has been, she needed to give something. She needed to promise something. She needed to do something, right? In order to get what she wants, which it's kind of like digging yourself a bigger hole if you think about it, right? Whereas what I do, working with the light, I have unlimited resources and nobody's asking me to do anything or give anything. This is why no ritual is necessary. Whatever I'm tapping into is an unlimited resources of energy and assistance that don't ask anything in return other than me doing my work here for humanity and for helping someone like you, protecting the innocent from being tormented by darkness. In other words, that's pretty much what I do. Yeah, among other things. Plus I channel too. I channel information, which is helping me when I say certain things, when I do certain things. but again, it's through me, from a higher source. Archangel Michael channels through me. People can see me do this on my TikTok channel, with sending messages to the public. But I also do this in your case. I've done this in your case, and I channel my higher self, who is very well versed with cases like this. She's been doing it for eons, I guess. My soul, part of my soul, has been involved in this kind of thing for a long time, in other lifetimes and existences. So I all of that comes together, and I just wanted to let your viewers know that there's, that's how I work. There's no rituals done, because I know you've been telling them about other people, right? And how
Yes, and this is why I think she's getting me results, because the people I've gone to in the past did rituals, and I think that's why they couldn't help me. Now, we're almost out of time, but I want to make sure I share this last bit before we call today's episode quits, and then next week we'll be back. But last Saturday morning, I woke up, and as always, Mel checks in. Hi, Jennylyn, how was your night? I said it was a rough night, and right now I don't feel well. I feel like she's trying to put this thing back in my chest. It's really tight, it's hurting me. And she says, okay, hold on, let me check. And next thing I know, she goes, I'm being told I can't, they're telling me to stand back. My guides are telling me to stand back. And we were texting this, and I'm thinking, why are they wanting this woman to put this thing back in my system so she could continue to siphon my essence? And I was a little bit bothered that they're stopping her from helping me. And then I said, but it's hurting me really bad. And she goes, hang in there, hang in there. I think it's for your good. And shortly after that, she confirmed that it was the angels, the guides, replacing my essence, which I think when Mel removed it, they were keeping it safely until the time was right to put it back into my body. So they replaced the essence that she had stolen from me back to me. And I want to say this. Last week, Mel did it in the morning, and the next day I did the segment. And I cannot tell you how many people said to me, you look so beautiful and you were glowing. And for those of you who said that to me, I want you to know, if you notice the change, that is probably why, because my essence that had been stolen from me for years had been returned. And I do feel different, I must say. And this morning, we had another amazing thing happen where the angels and my guides came in, but you have to wait for next week. And we have the plot twist
yes,
coming up next week.
yes,
We're gonna cut it here because we've been on this, doing this since 2, and it's now like maybe 4:30. No, it's way later than that. But because we had to redo the show, I don't want to wear Mel out. She has other things to do with her day. So stay tuned. We have another hot episode for you next week. Mel, what do you want to leave with them before I wrap?
well, I want to tell your viewers to have an open mind. Okay, that's first and foremost. I know that some of the things that you're telling them on this channel, and I tell them on this channel, on this episode here, may sound far-fetched, but keep an open mind, because there's so much that you cannot see, that we cannot see, that exists, that happens behind the scenes, that happens behind closed doors. And that really, I want people to be aware of those types of things, so that they can protect themselves if something happens to them and that they can't explain, right? Because this is something that you talked about, is that initially you didn't think anything was wrong, and it took you a while to get to that point, to fully grasp and accept that something really was wrong and that somebody was messing with you. And it took, and I don't know how long this process took, but if someone else can get help sooner than whatever time it took you to realize this, then that is something that would be, of course, in their best interest, right? So keep an open mind, keep those things in, in the back of your head. Don't be afraid, but this stuff exists. And so that's what I'm going to leave your viewers with today, I guess.
Thank you, Mel. And people, this world is every single one of us is energy. We are energy in a vessel. And when we die, our physical bodies decay, but our essence, our soul, it carries on. And we have, a lot of us, been on the planet before. But for some reason, and I think I know why, this information is hidden from us and we are deprived of knowing the spiritual part, but there's a spiritual world operating in parallel with our human physical world. And it has more power because the average person is oblivious and innocent. And so what I want to leave you with tonight is the difference between a skeptic and a believer is the experience. And I am not crazy and I am not a liar. So you can believe what we're sharing or not. I'm not here to convince you either way. I was instructed to share the story with the world by God, my guides and my angels, and I am doing it. And it will help those it is meant to help. And we will be back next week with the plot twist. See you then.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye.
From the shadows, she appears. Jennylyn Show.